What's going on, everyone? Damn, that new intro fires me up. I am your host, Colin Tong. Joining me tonight, my co-host, Reagan Loescher.
Yeah.
Welcome to Around the Felt Sports. We got some more draft to talk about in the aftermath. This one focused on Dynasty fantasy football. We have some stock up, some stock down. We'll have our top 5 rankings for the major position groups. And, we'll get into some dark horses to get in your taxi slots to help you win your leagues. Reagan, how are you doing tonight, my friend? It's good to see you.
I'm doing good. I'm ready to talk Dynasty. I mean, I dominate in Dynasty, not to toot my own horn, but I'm going to toot it a little bit. That's where I make my bread and butter is the Dynasty, so I'm excited to talk about it. A lot of rookies that landed in great spots, some other prospects where I was excited about it, didn't exactly land in the most favorable spot, so it's like now I'm kind of down on them. And then there's some like deep nitty-gritty guys that I like their opportunities where I'm going to share those secrets with you and tell you who you should be throwing on their taxi spot because me personally, I threw a Puka on my taxi spot 2 years ago, and that worked out well. And I'm not saying that any of these guys will become Puka, but if you're in a dynasty league and not utilizing your taxi spot, you are not doing your best effort to compete for a belt, for a title. You gotta do it.
Absolutely, my friend. This is great. I don't know if anyone noticed yet, but new camera over here. Reagan noticed, so definitely excited about it. We're doing upgrades over here at Around the Felt, so
yeah, he's
very excited
no more
about
potato.
it. No more potato camera over here. The clips will look much more crisp. Looking forward to it, man. But hey, let's start it off with you, my friends. Give me a quarterback whose stock went up based on their landing spot in the 2025 NFL draft.
Yeah, I mean, this one might be a hottish take. I liked it a lot more after day 2 as I did before day 3. But for me, Dillon Gabriel, man, I was super excited after day 2. I was like, damn, he's an older quarterback, played a lot of football, undersized, but we've seen so many quarterbacks as of recent where they've played a lot of football and they step in, the Brock Purdy's, the Joe Burrows, who else am I thinking of? There's a couple other guys that have just played. Oh, like Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, played a lot of football. So I think Dillon Gabriel can be a similar guy where he'll have his opportunity with the Browns. They have a good defense. And if he can just, put the ball in the hands of his playmakers, which, they have some out there. I mean, Jerry Jeudy had a career year last year with Jameis Winston. Obviously, Njoku's still there. They draft Harold Fanning. So they have some weapons there for sure. So Dillon Gabriel's a guy I'm definitely excited for. And, if he does happen to not be drafted in my league, I'm more than happy to throw him on my taxi spot.
Yeah, they also added Judkins and Sampson as weapons as well in that backfield, which they'll mesh really well. I mean, I agree with you 100% to the point where seeing Gabriel go in round 3 was a huge stock up. It just sucks that Shedeur Sanders got picked 2 rounds later. And did you see the rookie jersey sale? Shedeur Sanders is 3rd right now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And it's like all the Browns players are fully gung-ho on Shedeur. It's almost like Gabriel's being overlooked, and now people are just forgetting about him. Let's not forget.
That's fine with me. He's got a chip on his shoulder. Good.
The Browns used the 3rd round pick on him. They had him higher up than Shedeur. It seems like ownership probably got involved and told him to draft Shedeur, to be honest with you.
That's my guess.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
One.
I mean, they spent a high, you spent a day 2 pick on Gabriel, so that obviously means something, that they have plans of him touching the field at some point, and he will get the nod before Shedeur. And he's a more polished player right now. Shedeur obviously probably has the higher upside, but right now, if I'm looking at the 2 guys, Gabriel's the guy that's more pro ready and to compete right away.
Yeah, I like that. I got 2 stock up. One being Jaxson Dart, and no, not because I'm a Giants fan, but when you think about
fucking guy,
I know, but when you think about the landing spots that were in play for Dart, it was the Giants, it was the Browns, and it was the Saints. The Saints are a mess right now. That roster is in shambles. I think they're going to be a terrible team next year, and by being handpicked by Brian Daboll, I think that's the best coach that he could have had for his development, and I think Dart fits. I think Dart fits Daboll's system better than he would have fit Kellen Moore's or Stefanski's. Stefanski's is certainly better fit for Shedeur's play style. Dart's play style would mesh really well with Daboll. And also when you consider that this is Daboll handpicking his guy, it's Dart is going to get on the field soon. If Russell Wilson start playing well, he's going to get on the field soon.
I don't really know what Kellen Moore's coaching style or play calling style is because we've seen so many different iterations of it. So I'm not fully sure what it is yet. That is one that would excite me just because we've seen him coach so many good quarterbacks over the past couple of years. I mean, he went from Dak to Justin Herbert to Jalen Hurts. So he's been around a lot of good quarterbacks, not only as a coach, but as a player as well. So I would have been okay with that landing spot. Plus, I think he may have actually touched the field like out of the gates. But for his long-term development, yes, the Giants are a better spot because he does not have to play in year one. He can sit behind Russell Wilson, learn a little bit. It's just a matter of, and I've already gotten some flack where people just automatically assume like if it's a bad season for the Giants, which Vegas I saw has their lowest implied win total that they've had since like the 80s for the Giants at 5.5. Brian Dable is out of a job. Like I don't know why people think that John Mara is just going to sit patient and be like, oh yeah, like we'll just give him another year. Like if the Giants aren't good this year, like Dart, yes, will be the starting quarterback next year for certain, but it won't be with Dable. So that's the only thing.
I think taking Dart gives them a little bit more of a leash where they have to show progress 1,000%, but I don't think it's playoffs or bust. I think if they're showing progress and that young talent that they've drafted the last 2 years, some really strong draft classes start to ascend and they're way more competitive, but quarterback is still that problem. I think having Dart can buy them another year potentially, but they certainly have to make progress. Like it can't be picking top 5 again. They're gone if that happens.
Yeah, I would think you probably have to be competing, or Dart's got to show a lot of promise where you can be like, look what I was able to do with him.
Yeah,
which probably will happen. That's my guess, that they're going to start out slow out of the gate and then go to Dart because that's their last Dart throw to keep their jobs.
There's so many puns with the Jaxson Dart name. I love it. I have another stock up for you, Reagan. This is a dark horse. The last quarterback taken in the draft, Quinn Ewers, going to Miami. I think the way Ewers plays fits that Miami scheme really well, getting the ball out quick and letting your weapons do the work, but quick reads and getting it out. And with Tua's health history, like I would take Jaxson Dart over Curtis Rourke or Cam Miller or Graham Mertz or Riley Leonard, who all got picked ahead of him. Kyle McCord, like over all of them, I would take Quinn Ewers given the landing spot. What are your thoughts on Quinn Ewers in Miami?
I definitely like the landing spot because he'll have a serious chance to compete for the job, especially with, what we've seen from Tua the past couple of years. He's not going to play 17 games. You can shoe that in right away. One thing that's funny to me is you look at the top names last year going into this draft of like who would be the top quarterback. It's, Ewers, 7th round pick, Sanders, 5th round pick, Carson Beck didn't even enter the draft.
Yeah,
so
dude, it's nuts.
Names being floated around. And Beck's making the most money because he decided to stay. Like Ewers missed out. I heard he had an NIL money like worth up to like $8 million if he stayed, or it was another Big Ten school that was like offering him money. Like I heard he could have stayed and made a lot of money. Instead, he's making not so much, but it isn't a bad landing spot. I mean, definitely don't mind it at all. And Riley Leonard's an interesting one to me that I would just stash just because his play style and the way he was used at Notre Dame is very similar to Anthony Richardson. I'm not saying he's going to touch the field, but from what we've seen from Steichen there, he was able to get a lot out of Gardner Minshew. He hasn't been able to get a lot out of Anthony Richardson, and Anthony Richardson's a guy with health issues. I would be interested if Riley Leonard does get a chance how he would fit in that scheme because he's similar play style.
Yeah. Do you think there's a chance they could use him in like a Taysom Hill type of role? Because like
Riley Leonard, definitely.
You don't want to risk Richardson as much, your starter, even though Richardson can do that, like run like you do Taysom Hill. But maybe Riley Leonard's a guy that takes those hits. And you can use him in that way.
I could see him definitely being that. And I think the same with Milrow in Seattle. I think, they'll definitely get some different packages because we've seen it. We saw it with Hurts in his rookie year. We saw it with Lamar in his rookie year as well. Like these really freaky athletic quarterbacks or, power running quarterbacks do end up getting in. Trey Lance as well, even though he never worked out at all, he still got some packages early on.
Absolutely. Let's move over to running backs. What's a guy whose stock went up?
I mean, the easy choice is RJ Harvey getting drafted by Denver. I mean, that's
in the second round choice. Yeah, it's the layup choice. It really is.
I don't think anyone thought he'd be the 5th running back off the board, but you could argue, he's in the best landing spot out of any running back in this class because the way Denver's offense is and the fact that there's really no guy there wide open for him to get touches. I mean, obviously he's not the biggest guy at 5'8". I mean, he's 205, so he's definitely got the weight to him, but he's not the biggest running back. But he'll definitely have his fair share of chances. Another guy I definitely liked as well in his landing spot was Caleb Johnson with Pittsburgh. He's
Yeah, that
another
was
guy I
mine.
think can step in right away. Who else? But yeah, those are the kind of the two I liked a lot. I mean,
Johnson.
obviously like Genty, but that's
Yeah, Genty's. I mean, yeah, he's going to be the workhorse there. Caleb Johnson. Did you see Mike Tomlin's press conference? He was just gushing over Caleb Johnson. He's like, this is a guy that can handle a heavy workload, because they were talking about his size compared to Jalen Warren's and this and that. And, was it a factor that you drafted him? That he's this big back, like 6'1", 220. And he's like, no, you look at him at Iowa. He was the center of their offense, and he was unbelievable. This guy can take a heavy workload. And we've seen Najee out of the gate under Mike Tomlin get a heavy workload. So although, yes, Jalen Warren is certainly going to be involved, I think Caleb Johnson as a rookie can do some damage. Like, I think 1,000 yards is a play. 100%.
Yeah, no, definitely. Those are two guys that big winners. Obviously Henderson as well, a big winner. I would think
going to New England.
Ramondre doesn't worry me.
No, not at all.
Judkins as well. Although
and
I think Sampson will be involved as well.
But them taking Sampson doesn't scare me with Judkins, because they are completely different play styles. And Quinshon Judkins is kind of that Nick Chubb more style, which they've been
he
so
just done
used to.
Chubb? Like, what's the deal with that?
I'm seeing that Chubb is in talks with the Bears.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because the Bears, I mean, they brought in Kyle Monangai, who right now that's a guy that probably will go earlier in dynasty drafts, just because he's the only guy the Bears drafted, and Swift was super inefficient last year, and I don't think Roschon Johnson's scaring anybody or Travis Homer. So
no, yeah.
Monangai is definitely a name, but that's interesting with Chubb. And that's interesting with Swift as well, because I think
Chicago was planning on taking a running back on day 2, but they just got out-sniped. Like, I don't think they were expecting Judkins and Travion to go right away, because they had 2 picks I think it was like around 10-ish in the second round. And I think they were hoping to get one of those guys, and they got sniped. So I think they're now pivoting to adding a veteran in Nick Chubb. So,
who's another guy that's like a deep sleeper? And I'll save that when we get into the taxi squad later.
Yeah.
We'll get into our deep sleepers for the taxis.
Is there anyone whose stock went down with landing spot in your mind? I know you're a huge Ollie Gordon guy. Does him going to Miami worry you? The fact that they have Achan and they drafted
Wright, Jalen Wright last year.
Jalen Wright last year in Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, I'd still be, I'll still be throwing him on my taxi spot if he doesn't go in the top 3 rounds, which I wouldn't expect that he would. So I don't love that landing spot. Some other ones I don't necessarily love. I didn't love Byshell Tutton going to the Jaguars, just because I still feel like Bigsby and ETN are there, and they're going to have roles. Like, they need to decide on ETN's future there. So that's maybe more of a long-term play.
Trevor Etienne too going to Carolina. It's like Carolina just can't stop adding running backs, though.
I don't mind that, because he's more like he's a different skill set than Hubbard.
Because Etienne's a receiver. Yeah, he's a receiver.
Why am I blanking on his name?
Jonathan Brooks is out for the year. They did bring in Rico as well.
Yeah, but even Rico's isn't a pass catcher. So Etienne will definitely have a role. I mean, it's just I don't think he'll ever be a 3-down back.
I don't think he'll ever really be fantasy relevant, to be honest. I'm not a big Trevor Etienne fan. He used to be at Florida. I watched him a lot. I wasn't super impressed. And at Georgia, I watched him a lot this year, and I was like, I don't really see like a future NFL starter.
Yeah, and Devin Neal's another one that's interesting to me, just because, Kendre Miller didn't look great. Never a fan of the coaching staff. Got his opportunity last year when Kamara was out. Didn't look great. And Kamara's, obviously coming off of a good year, but how many more years does he have left? Devin Neal, obviously a lot of production at Kansas, so he's another one that's interesting to me.
Cool. Let's move on to wide receiver. Stock up. I got an easy one for me. Easy one for me.
I'll do mine first. I mean, Tre Harris is.
Oh, God damn it! You still.
All right.
Great minds think alike.
I'll let you have it. Okay. Who was my other one? I didn't. I'm kind of excited. With a couple different guys. I mean, obviously that was the obvious choice, but Jack Bech going to the Raiders, I like a lot, because I feel like there's a lot of openings there. I mean, right now Jacoby Myers is solidified as the 1, but I think Bech could become the number 2. Obviously, a lot of production at TCU. A lot of the other guys just got drafted into situations where they're definitely not the path to be the number 1. I mean, Pat Bryant with the Broncos, don't mind that as well, just because the Broncos have a lot of like okay guys outside of Sutton, so definitely a chance to become number 2 there. And another one I like, undrafted, but Respario,
Xavier Restrepo out of
Restrepo, yeah,
Miami
going
going to Tennessee with Cam
Tennessee,
Ward.
yeah. I
Dude,
think they'll
Restrepo's
definitely.
tape was so good last year. He just is not a great athlete, but God damn it, the guy gets open.
And they did take 2 other wide receivers too, and Eric Manu from Stanford, and then Chimere Dyke from Florida. But I don't know. I don't mind that at all. What about you? I'll let you go on Tre Harris a little bit.
Yeah, Tre Harris for me. So I caught myself watching a lot of Jaxson Dart, and I was like, holy shit, Tre Harris is an absolute dog, and he's an outside guy. When you look at their receiver room, like, yeah, Lad is a beast, but he's going to work out of the slot. Like, Tre Harris should be their number 1 guy on the outside this year, paired with Justin Herbert. Like, damn, dude, that is a phenomenal landing spot for him to go.
Yeah. No,
And
it is another
damn good. He's damn good.
No, it is a good landing spot because he could become the number 1. I mean, I don't love the pick of Adrian Smith for the Jets, but I think the opportunity is definitely there where it's Garrett Wilson's the 1. And then number 2, I mean, Lazard plagued with drops. Malachi Corley didn't show enough. We brought in Josh Reynolds, so it's obviously a huge opportunity for him to step into the number 2, and he's a speedster. I mean, he averaged 17 yards per catch in 2024, but deals with a lot of drops, but definitely a guy look at and see the opportunity ahead. Jordan Watkins as well with the 49ers, another Ole Miss guy. Saw some of his tape. Watching some of Jaxson Dart, another guy that'll have some opportunities with Debo gone. I mean, Ayuk's still rehabbing the ACL. So will he be ready right away?
Probably not. Probably not.
You would think not.
I also like Jimmy Horn Jr. to Carolina.
Yeah.
I really like you watch. I mean, obviously a lot of people watch Colorado, just like with the Dion, the Hunter, the Shador, the fact they played in the West Coast. So they usually had a night slate game, like nightcap. And dude, Jimmy Horn Jr. made a lot of big plays for that team. 6th-round guys, so you don't have the highest of expectations, but just in Carolina where they're hoping for guys to break out in that receiver room for Bryce Young, I think it's just another guy that can compete there, and he could develop into number 3, maybe even number 2. Like I know Leggett definitely has more upside, but
yeah,
Horn's probably more consistent. Stock down, brother.
Yeah, I mean, stock down for me, definitely both Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, just because I feel like there's so many targets and different guys in that system where it was like, all right, one of them fine, but Nico's going to be the one. Like Tank Dell's still there. I just thought it was very odd, and they trade for Christian Kirk, so I just think it's going to be tough for those guys where I think there could have been better situations, and not only them both being there, like I just feel like, and Dalton Schultz, so stock down for those guys. Emeka Egbuka, even it might be better long term. I know this is Dynasty, but it's still hard for me to see him establishing himself over the first couple years. Like Godwin's still got 3 years at least. You would think Mike Evans probably got another 3-4 years. So we're talking back half of his, first 5 years, year 4, year 5, where we're seeing a breakout or like the emergence of him being the potential number 1 in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, his probable best case for this year is to be that number 3 and surpass McMillan, which, I think he certainly could do. He's a better prospect. He's a better player, but McMillan showed a lot last year. You still got to think about Godwin's rehab. Like, where is he? He's probably going to be on track to be ready week 1, but, it's not like Godwin and Evans have been the most durable duo either. So there's an opportunity there, but it's just going to be like, you're not going to start Emeka Egbuka on your playoff lineup unless Evans or Godwin are out, and that's the reality of it. So it hurts them initially. But yeah, I agree with you. Like long term, Evans isn't going to play forever. Godwin is probably be his last contract with Tampa Bay. So, it was just an interesting pick. We talked about it when we did the draft recap. Like receiver at 19 for Tampa Bay didn't make a ton of sense. I mean, Luther Burden too is like, I love the Ben Johnson offense for him, but it's, also Romo Dunes and DJ Moore in the picture.
and
paired
2
with
good tight
Loveland
ends.
and
Yeah.
Kmet. It's just like a lot of mouths to feed. And although Burden adds a different element to that offense compared to the other two receivers, where he can score from anywhere and he's more of a big play guy, it's just like how many touches you're going to get. Like even that Ben Johnson offense, it took a while for Jameson Williams to get his feet under him. Like, are we going to see a similar arc for Luther Burden?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And one I forgot to talk about, but I like the landing spot, Kyle Williams with the Patriots. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a guy that could step in and be the number one. You don't normally get that opportunity going in the third round to potentially be the one. I know they brought in Diggs, but Diggs is definitely on the back end of his career. He's coming off the ACL tear. So who knows what shape he'll be in. He'll be in the slot. I mean, Kyle Williams can play both, but, I look at the Patriots roster right now, and there's not a whole lot of guys that excite me. I mean, Pop Douglas was probably their best wide receiver last year. I mean, definitely Hunter Henry, but he's a tight end, so he'll definitely have his chance to grow with Drake May and have a serious role with this team. So definitely a guy who I think stock shot up on boards and probably is going to go early second in rookie drafts.
Yeah, I mean, just given the opportunity he has in New England, right? He was Chris Sims' second-rated wide receiver in this draft, which is crazy. That no one else, I think, that I saw had him in the top 4 or 5. But Chris Sims has a lot of belief in him and loves the landing spot in New England. All right. You want to do tight ends here?
Yeah, I think we should. I mean, we don't, stock up. I mean, honestly, I don't mind, like, for the top 6 tight ends. I kind
All
of
pretty
like
good landing spots, really.
Outside of Fanning, I would have loved to see him go somewhere where, like, there wasn't an established tight end. Like, Njoku's, to me, is still very viable and is still putting up numbers. But still, I like the talent of Fanning. So even if he's got to develop a little bit and eventually take it over, but I think Arroyo, Ferguson, Taylor, Warren, Loveland all have a good chance to be the number one day one.
Yeah, I saw for Fanning, I saw people projecting a Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely similar type of situation where because Fanning kind of has a similar play style to Likely.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of has similar measurables and, like 40 time and stuff. So I think that could be interesting where Fannin might for a couple years be involved, have some big games. Then ultimately when Njoku goes away, he has the opportunity to take over. Hopefully the Browns hit on one of these quarterbacks and Fannin, can ascend with them.
Yeah. And honestly, like even the top 4, like Ferguson, Taylor, Warren, Loveland, I think they all have a big chance to, and I wouldn't be shocked if you tell me any of those 4 guys in any order end up being it. Like, I think even Arroyo too, like the top 5, like it could go in any order after the first season. Cause I'm not going to sit here and act like Loveland is going to the best of landing spots. Like I like the potential, but there's a lot of mouths to feed there where like you look at Tyler Warren, you look at Taylor, you look at Ferguson. Well, Ferguson's also got a lot of mouths, but you look at really Mason Taylor and Tyler Warren, like they have the chance to be the number 2 target on their offenses. Obviously, the quarterback play is definitely a big question mark.
Warren could be one, like honestly.
He
like,
could be.
Given how inaccurate Richardson is, like Warren might be
Yeah.
his best friend and have 80 catches. Where
Yeah.
like Richardson's not accurate enough to get Pittman 80, right? Like on the outside.
Yeah. And the big reason Mason Taylor excites me, at least in the short term, is Justin Fields. We saw him put up a lot of his production as a passer with Cole Kmet. So that definitely excites me based off the history. And even Freiermuth, he was, ultra targeting. So Mason Taylor's definitely a guy whose stock went up with this landing spot. But still, I mean, an early day 2 tight end will be drafted. I mean, last year, even Ben Sinnott obviously didn't really get the full opportunity, but he was still going in round 2, round 3 in rookie drafts.
Yeah. I am curious your thoughts. Would you have rated like a guy like Loveland? Have you have been more bullish on him if he went to Denver, even though Evan Ingram's in play there, but just being with Sean Payton and how they've talked about the need for like a joker in their offense? Like, do you think you would have been more optimistic with Loveland with a short-term deal with Ingram compared to a younger guy like Kmet that kind of has more years under contract?
Yeah, no, I still like the landing spot because Kmet's, I don't know.
It's tough, right? Like they're
Yeah.
both similar situations, young quarterbacks that you're bullish on. Another tight end in the picture, but clearly, if you're going to take a tight end this high, he's going to have a role. Like it doesn't matter if there's another tight end on the team that's going to play.
I'm not too worried. Yeah, I would think they'll use a lot of 12 personnel, but if you're taking a picture on, if you're taking a tight end at pick 10, like he's going to have a big role. Like he's probably going to be the tight end 1. You don't take that kind of capital on a player for him to be a backup.
That is true. That is true. All right, brother. Let's pivot into our top 5 rankings for each of these positions. We'll start, of course, with the quarterback. You run through your top 5. I'll run through mine, and then we'll debate.
All right. So starting out at 1, Cam Ward.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy.
Right now for me at 2, it's Dart.
I also have Dart.
At 3, I'm going to go with Milrow.
I also have Milrow
because of the
where's the debate? Well, we'll get more debate in the running backs and receivers. The quarterbacks are kind of pretty chalky.
At 4, I'll go with Shuck.
Shuck. I also have Shuck. Yeah.
And then at 5, I'll go with Will Howard, just based off. Just based off of the landing spot. The rushing upside, and the fact that he has a chance to be starting day 1. So yeah, I'll take the shot on that.
If Rodgers retires, it's like
Yeah, but not only that, it's just the rushing ability where I look at, I could go Shador, but will he ever get the opportunity? Yeah, I could go Dillon Gabriel, who I'm very bullish on as well.
That's what I thought you were going to go with, was Gabriel. I thought we were going to have a debate here. I have Sanders at 5. I thought we were going to debate Sanders versus Gabriel.
No, I ended up going with Will Howard, man. It's just because if you look at any of these quarterbacks, he has the best path in front of him at the time of this recording to have a chance to start. And also his rushing ability is higher than both Sanders and Gabriel. So it's fantasy football. It's not, NFL football.
That's a good point. That's valid. So, I mean, I think we're pretty in lockstep with the start. I am curious why you ultimately went Milrow over Shuck. Because when you look at him, it's like, I went with Milrow because the rushing. Like, if he does pan out, you could hit an absolute grand slam. You might have to stash him for a long time, and you may waste a roster spot for 2 years. Like, you might waste a taxi and then waste a roster spot and then might waste another roster spot.
Well, there's still people that are rostering Trey Lance because of that same aspect.
That is true. He was picked 3rd overall, right? He should be on my roster. He shouldn't be on waivers, but with Milrow, if he wins the job, dude, it's like you could have the potential of a top 10 fantasy asset with just the rushing upside if he hits. Exactly. That's why I put him over Shuck, even though Shuck is probably going to start for the Saints this year. And he can run too, but it's also I'm not very high on Shuck long term. Like if you're you might have him this year.
You would think he's very replaceable.
Yeah,
but then again, they spent an early day 2 pick on him, so he's halfway decent.
But they could very easily take a quarterback in the 1st round next year if they suck with Shuck, and that's it. He's done. He's going to be a career backup, right?
What the Shuck?
What the Shuck, man? I don't know. That's why I went with Shuck 4th, but you really can't argue any quarterback behind Shuck above him because Shuck is gonna play.
Yeah. No, I feel like the quarterback thing, it's not that much of a debate. I think we'll have more disagreements at the other positions.
All right, well, let's get into it then. Running back, give me your top 5.
Well, I think we both agree. Genty's 1.
Genty's clearly, yeah. This is where it gets interesting.
I think I might go RJ Harvey.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Dude, just because of the landing spot, I don't know. I trust Sean Payton, and I don't think you're taking a guy or quote unquote reaching of what the experts are saying that early. You're not taking a 2nd round pick on a running back if you don't plan to use him and have big plans for him, because they still had their choices of a lot of guys at that point, and they decided to go with Harvey. I think 3, I'll go with Hampton. 4, I will go with Caleb Johnson. And 5, I will go with.
Which Ohio State guy?
I think I'm going to go with Henderson. I think I'm going to pass on Judkins.
Judkins is out of your top 5? Wow.
I think so right now. Yeah, I think basically he comes down to me is he does not have a proven quarterback. And you could be like, oh, well, the Raiders don't either. But Ashton Genty, he was taken 6th overall. He's a whole nother level of running
Gino's back. Proven. He's not a star, but he's
what I mean now. But And people will be like, well, you just put Caleb Johnson over him. But ultimately, the Steelers consistently are competing and winning football games. Where the Browns, it's Nick Chubb may be out of the picture, probably out of the picture. But they also took a running back in Dylan Sampson in the 4th round. Don't love that. And then it's just if Joe Flacco's the quarterback, what does the run game look like? Is it Kenny Pickett? We saw, Nick Chubb struggle immensely. And we saw Jerome Ford struggle immensely with all the different quarterbacks in last year. And it was just they could never get the run game going. The O-line is going to be in an interesting spot. And,
it's definitely iffy.
It's just I'm a little hesitant because there's no established quarterback right now where it's we don't know they're trending up. Where right now, to me, the Raiders are ascending. You could say with Pete Carroll coming in, kind of a culture change. Chargers are definitely ascending. Broncos are ascending. Patriots are ascending. And the Steelers are just super consistent. So it was more not on the talent, but more of the landing spots and the situations for me.
So you are not concerned about Harvey being 24 as a running
No,
back?
not at all. I don't think that matters because if he's a bell cow for 5 years or 4 years, that's fine with me. The running back position in Dynasty, you have to realize you just got to take what you can get and sell them at the right time. So if you get 2 years of Harvey getting, 200 to 250 to 300 touches and scoring a lot of touchdowns, you can ship them off. Like, you got to know when the writing's on the wall and to move on from some of these guys. Like, I have Kyron Williams in a couple leagues, and probably after this season, I'm going to be looking to ship him off because, with some of these older running backs that are smaller size guys, like, they can take a full workload, but how many years are they going to be that elite level?
Yeah, I actually chipped off Kyron, and I'm pretty happy I did. They took Jarquez Hunter out of Auburn in the
Yeah,
fourth
they're high on him,
round,
I
and
know.
they're very high on him. And I know they took Corum last year, but apparently, like, Hunter was their guy. Like, they were going to go get him, which does kind of concern me because, like, Kyron Williams was a 5th round pick. You know what I mean? Like, the Rams hit on these late round guys, and I don't see the Rams paying Kyron Williams top of the market money. I really don't. I think they'll probably move on if it's going to be close to that 20 million range that a guy like James Cook right now is targeting. And Kyron Williams has the production under his belt where he could command that kind of money,
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm curious. So what's your 5?
So yeah, Gentie's 1. I have Travion Henderson 2. Henderson is my guy. He is. I know this doesn't really matter for fantasy, but it matters in terms of keeping him on the field. But he's the best pass blocking back in the draft. He's going to be in on passing downs. He's a phenomenal receiver, and he has that home run threat. I am not worried about Ramondre Stevenson. His skill set is not even close to Henderson's, and Henderson's a better player. And now it's a new coach and Mike Vrabel in there. So Henderson, I think, would pair with Drake May and the additions they've made along the offensive line. Like, that Patriots team got a lot better this offseason with all the moves they made. So I think Henderson was already my 2. I didn't really care about landing spot, but going to New England just justified it for me. At 3, I do have Hampton. Draft capital, 1st round, going to the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh, he's going to pound the ball. Yeah, Najee's there for a year.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't really care. Like, Hampton's going to be their guy over Najee. Like, he just is. Like, Najee might bleed into his workload early, but by the end of the season, Hampton's going to be getting around 20 carries a game. We know the investments they've made along that offensive line, with their tackle duo of Slater and Alt, adding Mekhi Becton into that interior. So it's just a really good landing spot in LA, and Hampton's, he's a beast. That's why he got picked in the 1st round. 4th, I do have Quinshon Judkins. Justin Cleveland, we touched on it a little bit earlier. I was a big stock up. Like, his play style, I think, is going to mesh really well. And when they have that uncertainty at quarterback, like, yes, I agree with you. It could be a problem in terms of scoring points. So he might not get the touchdowns early, but his play style in Cleveland, I think, is going to have him being their bell cow for the next 5 years. And then 5th, Caleb Johnson. I have Caleb Johnson in Pittsburgh. Just hearing Mike Tomlin talk about him, how good he was at Iowa. He's a big back. He just seems like a Steeler. I think for the next 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer, he might get a second contract. Hopefully he doesn't fall off like Najee did. But I think Caleb Johnson is going to be a beast. I do have Harvey at 6th. You're right. Like, the landing spot is awesome. And
the landing spot is phenomenal.
It is. And
There's no competition.
And I do kind of, there's so many good running backs, dude. It sucks because I don't want to leave Harvey out.
Because
his tape was really good too. Really good.
Outside of Genty, you could argue that he's in line to get the most touches out of any back in this class.
He's definitely the biggest riser. Like, he went from probably like going in the 3rd round of your dynasty drafts, maybe late 2nd, to now he's going to be like late 1st.
Because every other guy we talked about outside of Genty has another back that's there that is going to be taking touches, and whether it's splitting or
so what. Are you waving the white flag on Jaleel McLaughlin? I know you were high on him.
Yeah. Well, I just I guess I am waving the white flag on him. I mean, maybe he'll step in on 3rd downs as like a change of pace back, but let's be honest, how many touches is he going to be really taking from him?
Yeah, and Audric Estime is really no threat.
Me more. Ramondre Stevenson scares me more. You know, Sampson with the Browns scares me more just because, you know, you spent the fourth round pick on him. Plus Jerome Ford's still there. And I'm not going to act like Jerome Ford's anything special, but he has the big play ability. He's been able to step in when Nick Chubb was out and definitely looked better than Chubb did last year. So he's still there. They obviously like him and have committed to him at times to be a full 3-down back.
All
And
right.
then obviously Najee is there for the year with the Chargers.
You talked me into it. I'm gonna switch Harvey and Caleb Johnson. So Harvey's gonna be my 5. Johnson's my 6. Honorable mention 7th. Scattaboo. Let's go.
Yeah, you could you could have said him at 5 just because while Tracy had a good year last year, it doesn't like he had some fumble issues throughout the games and stuff. And
Yeah.
Scattaboo's a different style, that we've seen what he can do and how powerful he is. So I think it's definitely an open competition. It'll be more of a timeshare to start, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if by the end of the season he takes the job.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked either. I think like Scattaboo's gonna be a fan favorite, and the way he runs, he is a better prospect for sure coming out than Tracy was, and Tracy did show a ton as a rookie. But you did highlight those fumbling issues. Like he did lose the job a little bit. Well, maybe not the job, but he lost a lot of carries at the end of the year to Devin Singletary, who fell out of favor. Because he had his own fumbling problems.
Mm-hmm.
So not ideal. Not ideal. All right, man. Let's move on to the wide receivers here. Travis Hunter is included because James Gladstone said he's going to start at receiver full time and defense will be secondary, but he will play both ways. So with that in consideration, I'm interested to see where you put him.
Yeah, I'm going Tet 1. I'll go with Hunter 2. 3 for me, I'm going with Luther Burden. 4, I'll go with Tre Harris. And 5, I'll go with Kyle Williams.
Okay. Why no Matthew Golden?
I like Golden a lot, but I just feel like there's so many guys there in Green Bay, and we've seen just the past 2 years of the Green Bay offense, like there's never been one guy that can establish himself and stay consistent enough for fantasy where I think
you don't get consistent wide receiver 1 weeks.
Golden, I think, will be and have big weeks and may on paper be the number 1, but I don't think for fantasy he'll be sustainable enough because I think their style is just keep spreading the ball around. And I think also their style is going to be a run first team. We saw the way they ran the ball with Josh Jacobs last year. They want to run the ball first. They want to get the play action going with both tight ends and Kraft and Musgrave. You still have Jaden Reed there. You still have Dobbs there. You still have Wicks there, so there's a lot of mouths and Christian Watson. So it's, obviously, I think the opportunity's there, but it's even with the opportunity, how many touches is that and how many fantasy points does it lead to? So I just don't ultimately love the landing spot for fantasy. I think he'll be better for NFL purposes than fantasy purposes.
Then why do you have Burden at 3?
Because I think that offense is going to be way more high-powered. I think they're going to be a more high-powered offense. I also like the prospect of Burden more than I do the Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, more than Matthew Golden as a prospect.
You like Burden as a player better than Golden as a player.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to necessarily worry about a Dunze or DJ Moore because Keenan Allen had some big weeks last year and definitely was fantasy relevant. And I think Luther Burden is definitely more explosive at this point. It has a chance. So a lot of people were excited for Dunze, but Luther Burden could step in right away and, be the number 2 or even the number 1. I don't know if it's for certain that DJ Moore is. So it's more of just me liking the prospect of Luther Burden more than the prospect of Matthew Golden.
And then last question from me. Tet Hunter. Why that order?
Because ultimately, I just don't think I can go with one with Hunter knowing that he's going to play a lot of defense. And there's always a chance where a couple injuries happened on defense and our secondary is terrible. We need this guy more on defense right now than offense.
Yeah, that is the question.
That's
you
always
could lose him for a couple of weeks of the season because they lose Tyson Campbell at corner, right? It could happen.
Tet's going to play 90% of the snaps, 95%, 100% of the snaps on offense. I like what I saw from Bryce Young a lot in his development. And I think right away he steps in and is the number 1 where Travis Hunter, while he's a great wide receiver, he ain't going to be the number 1. Brian Thomas is still the 1. That's the ultimate kickback is if Brian Thomas wasn't there, then I would probably have Travis Hunter over him. But Brian Thomas is there who's in front of Tet right now? Leggett, Dillon, Coker. Like,
I don't even think they're in front
they're
of
not
him.
in front of him. That's what I'm saying. Like, those
Yeah.
are the guys that you can make a case for. And so, yeah, I'm going with McMillan and hoping that Bryce Young continues to develop with him.
Okay. I went Hunter 1.
Okay.
And
Bold.
I think him going to Jacksonville and what Gladstone has said has kind of sold me on it. It's definitely bold. I have the 5th pick in one of my drafts. I know that people in that league listen to this podcast, but they don't pick in front of me, I don't think so. But if Travis Hunter falls to me at 5, it's a
What
whole
league is that?
That's my school league. So
Oh, gotcha.
I don't think Walmart has a pick. Walmart's gonna hear this. I don't think he has a pick in the top 5, so I think I'm okay. But yeah, I'm snatching Travis Hunter, and I'm thanking all of them in front of me for letting me do it, because Travis Hunter has the highest upside of all these receivers. And if he does sustain injuries playing both ways and he's going to specialize on one side, I think it'll end up being offense in Jacksonville. I think they're so focused on making sure Trevor Lawrence will be their long-term guy and he's going to live up to that draft status, where they want him to have both of those weapons, Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter, who are both insanely explosive and really complement each other well. I just think Travis Hunter as a pure wide receiver is better than Tet, and I think he's a safer pick and also has a higher ceiling. So I went with Hunter 1, Tet 2, but Tet going to Carolina at 8 is awesome. Like, he's going to be Bryce Young's best friend, and we've talked about it a lot of times in this podcast. He fits Bryce Young's play style really well with his pinpoint accuracy. He's going to love throwing the ball up to Tet. 3, I did go with Matthew Golden.
Oh, interesting.
I did go with Golden. You know, I think it's just taking into consideration the fact that there's so many guys, as you mentioned, but no one can establish themselves as the one where it's the opportunity that he can. And I'm a big fan of Jordan Love as a player. Also, he can do some magical things for fantasy football. I know Jacobs is that guy right now. They were running the ball so much at the end of the season last year, but you can work some play action off that and hit 4.29 speed Golden on a deep crossing route or a goal, like a post. I think Jordan Love, he certainly has the arm to do it. And I think Golden has that home run power that, yeah, maybe Christian Watson has that too, but the guy's never on the field. So I think Golden, when you also consider the draft capital, is the 3 for me. 4, I agree with you. Tre Harris, already touched on it. Awesome landing spot. He's going to thrive with Justin Herbert, and him and McConkey can both be on the field at the same time all the time. And 5, it was tough, man. Really tough. Between Burden, Higgins, and ultimately who I chose, Emeka Egbuka. I know.
Wow.
I know. This is not a 2025 play. This is a long-term play. This is Dynasty. And I'm going to go with Egbuka. They picked him 19th overall for a reason. He's insanely consistent. He's played outside. He's played in the slot. He'll probably be more of a slot guy. But with Godwin's injury history, I think he can get in the field pretty early. I think he's going to surpass McMillan. And Baker slangs that thing. Like, when they didn't have their dudes, Cade Otton was going to work. McMillan was going to work. Like, Baker Mayfield in that offense was top 5 across the board last year. I know Liam Cohen's gone now, which sucks, but I think they took him at 19th for a reason. I'm going to put Egbuka at 5 over a guy like Burden, where I also don't love the landing spot. I like it. Like, it's fine. Like, I'll see what happens. I don't love it. And with Jaden Higgins, I'm just higher as a player on Egbuka than I am Jaden Higgins, although I think he'll pair really well with Nico.
The thing for me with Luther Burden is I look at the production from 2 years ago, and I know there was a lot of issues and injuries and stuff to the team around him, and he was playing with a backup quarterback most of the year. So that's my whole thing. It's like, I don't know. It's just like the talent is there. And Tre Harris, I do think, and this might be a bold take, but he might end up being the number 1 in the class. Like, I actually love the landing spot and the potential.
Yeah, I do too, man. Okay. That wraps up that.
Do you want to talk about the tight ends briefly?
Yeah, let's hit tight ends. Tight ends, it's like, pick your poison. Who's your 1? Loveland or Warren with landing spots? And then,
Mason Taylor 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think Taylor's like firmly 3 for me behind those top 2 guys. Like, those top 2 guys were like top 10 to 15 prospects on like most of the team's boards, like legit studs. But Taylor was getting first round buzz, dude. Like, he was at the end of that cycle.
I know he was. That's why I'm going Taylor at 1.
You are not going Taylor at 1.
I'll go right now. I'm going Warren, Loveland, Taylor, Then I'll go with Fanning and then Ferguson.
You're leaving out Arroyo. See, I got
Yeah.
Arroyo as my 4 because I think Noah Fant sucks, and I think Arroyo is going to be their starter with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, it's just that's the issue. It's just is Sam Darnold a one-hit wonder? And if it's not Sam Darnold, then it is Milrow, like where at least we know with Ferguson, you have Matthew Stafford for at least a couple more years while he's so that's why I went with him over that. And Fanning, it's just I like the talent and the idea of him more than the other two.
Yeah, I have Fannin at 5 for me, and I think we're both on Tyler Warren number 1. I like
Yeah.
Tyler Warren more than Loveland before the draft, even though like people are saying Loveland is a better receiver, but
Which
Warren he might be, but Warren just wears more hats.
Well, it's
He
not even
beats you
that.
in
It's
different
on
ways.
top of that, it's just Warren could be the number one, where it's like Loveland just has so many guys there. There's just so many mouths to feed in the
There's
Bears
also
offense.
that, yeah, absolutely.
Just definitely the potential and the or not the potential, but the potential for upside and targets and all that stuff.
For sure. All right, man, let's wrap this pod up with a dark horse to add to your taxi slots. You know, when the draft is settled, when guys that are going undrafted, you have that scramble to add guys to your taxi and pick up some free agents. We'll give one for each position here, starting with quarterback. Who's your dark horse taxi slot ad?
I mean, I already kind of talked about it a lot, but it's Will Howard.
Yeah.
The big reason is the athletic ability, great for fantasy football. On top of that, the fact that right now there's nobody there. Like, it's open for him. And even if they do bring in Rodgers, like, okay, that's fine. Let him develop.
It's a 1 year thing.
Let him sit behind Rodgers and learn. It's like, and on top of that, like, we know the guy's a winner. Like, we just saw him play at the highest level, the highest stage, and play great football throughout the college football playoffs. So, he's a proven winner. And people try to say, oh, that doesn't matter. But you see a lot of these quarterbacks succeed in the league because they're just winning, and he just can come in and knows how to get it done. Where it's like, Trey Lance was an athletic freak, but did he do a lot of winning? No.
No.
You know what I mean? So,
well, he did at North Dakota State. They don't lose, but yeah,
that's fair. But
nothing in the NFL.
I mean, like, I don't know. I just like proven winners in college, I think definitely speaks volumes to me.
Yeah, I touched on this one too, but it's Quinn Ewers for me. And it's just when you look at all the guys that were taken, if they're going to start off as a backup, because, like, look, we're not talking about guys that are going to start because they're going to get drafted. These are guys that are going undrafted. Yeah, they might start, but they're probably backups to start. And for me, Ewers, of all those guys, just has the quickest pass to the field. And yeah, that relies on Tua's health, but what have we seen the past 5 years? You know what I mean? So even if you're stashing Ewers on your taxi for 8 weeks and say something happens to Tua and he misses a couple weeks, whether it's an ankle or whatever, God forbid, another concussion, like, Ewers is probably that guy. Like, Miami has not done well with adding backup quarterbacks, and I think maybe Ewers, especially because I don't love this Dolphins team right now, man. I don't know about you, but they're losing a ton of talent. They're losing a ton of leadership. They seem like they're so far away from where they were 2 seasons ago when they made the playoffs and lost to Kansas City. Like, they don't even seem close to that same team. When you also consider Tyreek Hill and all that shit that's going on, like, yeah, I mean, maybe Ewers won't be a dark horse if they trade away Tyreek Hill or he has more legal troubles. But, like, right now, it's like, if this Dolphins team, which I don't anticipate making the playoffs next year, if they're not in it, like, Tua gets hurt, like, Ewers is going to be that guy where, yeah, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks struggle when they step in, but you might be able to spot start them at your second super flex. And, with those weapons, you might have a good day out of them.
Yeah, no, I like that call out of Ewers because I definitely think both guys we said probably aren't getting drafted in your rookie drafts. Maybe Will Howard if your rookie drafts are before Rodgers is signed, where it's like, all right, like, he's still not there, so you kind of have to take him with like a late third or a fourth if you have 4 rounds. Yeah. But I definitely think both guys will probably go undrafted.
How about running back?
So I want to say Woody Marks, but I feel like he's going to go earlier and it won't really be the taxi spot type guy. So
I think he's going to get drafted, but
so I'll go with a different route. So mine's going to be Phil Maffa with the Cowboys, 6'1", 234, just a bigger back.
Him over Jadon Blue, huh?
Yeah, just because
different styles, but
different style. I like the style, and we've seen what Dallas has been able to do over the years with Zeke and just like that ground and pound, bigger back that could dominate. They're obviously building in the trenches. I think they want to take some weight off of Dak's shoulders. So this could be a guy that could be a goal line merchant, and I think this is going to be a high-powered offense where they'll get down there. And I don't think that a smaller back in Blue or And I know Javonte Williams is there, but he's on a 1-year deal, prove it type thing. Like
And he's not
very
been
like
good.
2-3 million hasn't been good. So I just think the opportunity will be there. So he's a guy I'm definitely looking at throwing on, my taxi squad. But on top of that, like I said, he's just a winner. He's played a lot of college football, an experienced guy, put up big numbers at Clemson throughout his career. So that's something that interests me, so that's who I would definitely put there.
Okay. I like that. See, like Jadon Blue is in my mind as one of these guys because he has a 4.28 speed and he's a very good receiver where you can play him and Javonte, like their styles mesh, but he's not going to be a 3-down back for you. So it's like, how much are you going to get? So I'm going to go a different direction. Yeah, we've already touched on Kyle Monangai, Rutgers legend. Dude's a stud. And, with DeAndre Swift there, like, yeah, this is the only back they added. Now, if they add Nick Chubb, like, I think that hurts him for this season, but I think Monangai can make some noise in that room and earn some carries. Another guy, this one's more of a dark horse because you're looking at the team that he's on and you're like, oh, like he's never going to touch the field. Damian Martinez out of Miami going to Seattle. There's been rumors that Seattle is looking to move one of Walker or Charbonnet. I don't think they want to pay Walker, to be honest with you. And we've seen when Walker went down, Charbonnet had some monster games last year. But when Walker's been healthy, he's had some monster games, like several multi-touchdown games. With Sam Darnold, they're going to want to run the football and work that play action off of it. So Damian Martinez, man, he was getting a lot of talk for the Giants. Like they were, like a lot of mock drafts I saw had him getting Martinez in the 5th. They ultimately Seattle got him in the 7th. And he's a really good player that in most running back classes would not be going in the 7th. He'd be going in the 5th or maybe the end of the 4th, right? So Martinez, if they move one of those backs, just saying an opportunity could present itself for Martinez. So that's a big
I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. I think that's, you got to call your shot. And that's why we're saying these are deep sleeper taxi squad guys. I mean, you just got to look at the opportunity and throw them on there. So for me, for the wide receivers, let's get into that.
Who's the next Puka?
I'm going with, and this is a deep sleeper, Caden Prather out of Maryland. He's got drafted by the Bills. I'm going to throw him on my taxi squad spot because right now Buffalo doesn't have any true number ones. I mean, you look at Keon, he's their big guy, but this is also a big guy, 6'4", 204, rare. He's got the speed and size. He can do the 50-50 stuff, but Keon didn't show enough to me last year that I'm like super worried about him. Shakir is the established guy, but totally different skill set. Amari Cooper is not under contract, and they brought in Josh Palmer, totally different skill set as well. So, and I'm not sold on Josh Palmer either. So I think right now, like outside of Shakir, there's no one you're looking at saying like, that's definitely our number 1 or definitely our number 2. And hey, Josh Allen's the freaking quarterback. So, the quarterback's going to be good. So definitely a guy I'm throwing on the end of my bench, just knowing that Buffalo needed wide receiver help. And that's the only guy they brought in the draft.
I love that you said that one. Did you see Brandon Beane's press conference where he was like, you guys are bitching saying you wanted Josh Rosen over Josh Allen. Now all you do is bitch about how we don't have enough receivers. Like, dude, he was getting pissed off.
Yeah, so he was.
This was the receiver they added, so there's an opportunity there for him. So I like that call out of you. I'm going to go with a guy I was drafted a little bit earlier. I'm going to go Alec Ayamanor, Tennessee, out of Stanford. Just watch his game against Travis Hunter from 2023, and you'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like he shit on Travis Hunter to the point where they took Travis Hunter off of him. And Travis Hunter is the number 1 corner in this draft. He dominated him. The reason he got picked at this point is because he's got the drops. Like he made a couple catches on Travis Hunter that were ridiculous, but he drops a lot of simple ones where you're like, what the fuck was that? Like, catch the goddamn ball, dude. So, I don't know. I was listening to McShay, and McShay made a joke. He's like, I don't know if this guy needs LASIK or what, but, like, he makes some crazy catches, but, like, he just drops the ball. And I'm like, yeah, he does drop the ball, but God damn it, man. Pull up that tape against Travis Hunter, and you're like, yeah, he can beat really good corners, and paired with Cam Ward, and they need help in that room. Like, yeah, you got Calvin Ridley, but Treylon Burks, like, no thanks. That guy's a bust. There's a lot of opportunity in this room, and you're taking the number 1 overall pick and throwing him in that offense. And if Ward's going to boom, like, I think this guy could be a big part of it. And someone's got to catch the touchdowns with Westbrook Akine out, right? Someone's got to catch him.
Yeah, somebody's got to catch him. That's their big touchdown guy.
All right, last tight ends.
I'm going to go with Robbie Oltz, Alabama tight end, 6'3", 274, only 11 career passes. No, he's drafted as a blocking tight end. I just was looking at him earlier, and I was like, all right, I'm going to bring that up because it's hilarious.
It's tough for the tight ends because it's like, dude,
bro was just drafted to be an undersized, like, extra lineman. 6'3", 274 is insane.
Holy shit. Yeah, you're getting no receiving upside.
He has he had 11 catches in 2 seasons, so he's just literally just a blocking tight end.
Yeah, he's a glorified 6 offensive lineman. Tight ends are tough, dude. Like, I might be like, oh, Giants took Thomas Fadone, like, dark horse, just because the guy tattoos himself. Like, he's a total freak, so maybe the mentality will carry over. Like, like, I like Gunnar Helm. Like, Gunnar Helm in Tennessee could do some damage. Tight end out of Texas.
A deep sleeper to me, and it always is, like, when you get the basketball player going, the football player, just because we've seen so many good tight ends that have made that jump. But he played 1 year at Utah, but the Broncos took him. Caleb Lohener, 6'7", 250, just basically off the size and thinking, hey, that guy will be utilized in the red zone, where it's like, all right, if I can throw this guy in my taxi spot, the big play or the jump ball aspect is there. But if he actually can develop as a route runner and continue to grow, Evan Ingram doesn't scare me long term. This is tight end probably not going to hit, but just based off of the physical traits, it's like, why not at least throw him on there and see what happens?
I like the call, man. Well, everyone, that wraps up our little Dynasty fantasy football rookie recap after the draft. We appreciate you tuning in. If you're still listening, please drop a like, subscribe, comment. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll catch you soon here on Around the Belt Sports. Be on the lookout for coming out soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Bye.